So the last PC I sold was about 2 weeks ago, and I had that PC listed for about a month and a half. So I started thinking, what's gonna make my PC stand out a little more? I went out and I bought this Cricut machine so that way I could have some vinyl cuts. So the idea behind this was to give the PCs a theme and to make them a little more custom and stand out. Now I don't have it down 100%, but I did try 3 different ways on how to make these. The first method I tried was very simple. If you're like me and you have no idea how to use this Cricut machine, there's a lot of YouTube videos and step-by-step guides. I spend a lot of time researching how to use this machine, but it's definitely a learning curve. So for my first design, I chose to do Sasuke from Naruto. You can use any Google image, but I decided to buy this off a website called Etsy. It was only $2, but I wanted the SVG files to make it easier since at the time I didn't know how to layer images. This was my first cut, and as you can see, I didn't get the size right. So I had to redo it to fill in the backplate a little more. Now that's a cheap and easy way to make a PC stand out a little more. Minus the $400 for the Cricut machine, but I definitely think it's worth it because there's so much more that you can do with it. Now for the second method, was inspired from the last PC build, and I decided to make this infinity mirror to match the PC case. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you watch that right after this video. Now to be honest here, I have little to no experience when it comes to photo editing or using any photo editing software. Never mind the fact I have to try to figure out how to use this Cricut machine. Really take the time to learn how to use this machine because these are all my trial and errors of trying to figure out the size and the correct settings to use so the machine doesn't mess up the cuts. Now let's get started with the materials. I started off with a 10x10 acrylic sheet that came in a 2-pack, a 12-inch by 24-inch 3mm acrylic mirror sheet. I did order a roll of mirrored vinyl off of Amazon, but I feel like the tint was a little darker than what I wanted, so I actually went to Lowe's and I found a more clear mirrored vinyl wrap. So now that I went through all the materials, follow along and let's get your first custom plate build. Like I said before, there's a lot of videos and tutorials on how to design your image on the Cricut machine. You can either buy SVG files or layer them yourself. I've done a mixture of both, and depending on the image, I prefer to layer them myself. After your image is cut out, you're definitely gonna need some transfer tape. I'll have a link in the description of the one I'm using here. Make sure you press down really good to get a good grip on the vinyl so you can see your cutout. I'm a really impatient person, but you want to make sure to take your time on peeling the vinyl off. This part is very important. Since I'm doing a layered image, I only want the stencil, so I'm peeling off the parts I don't need that I will fill in after. So let's talk about the lights. Now this is where a third method comes in. I've tried 2 different style lights. One was a regular LED strip where the lights face upwards. The other style LED strips, the lights point downwards, which they're a little more expensive and they're not as bright as the other LED strips. So depending on what light you use, there's a slight difference of how the finish goes, which I'll discuss later in the video. You can cut the acrylic with a razor knife, which I was doing in the beginning, but since I have a multi-tool, it makes it much easier and faster for me. To save yourself the headache of having bubbles when applying the vinyl, here I used water and a little bit of soap to get it to stick with no bubbles. cut off the little bit of vinyl here because this is where the LED strip goes. I made the mistake the first time by leaving it on and it made the vinyl peel off. These are solderless 4-pin connectors. If you don't have a solder gun, I've used these plenty of times and never had any issues. They also make a 3-pin solderless connector. So like I said before, there's 2 style lights that I use. On this one, I use the LED strips that point downward, which they're more expensive, and I don't think they're as bright as the other way I use. Now for the other style LED strip, I put 1 strip on the top, 1 strip in the bottom, facing down towards the mirror, which gave it that infinity mirror effect. Now there's one more method that I haven't tried yet. So if you're interested in a part 2 to this video, let me know in the comments. I will have links to all the materials that I use in the description. I hope this video was helpful. I'll catch you on the next one.